Hey everybody, this is Doc Got Game bringing you a quick little video on Infinity Wars, which is a new digital trading card game made by Lightmare Studios. Uh, it is currently in a closed beta, but I can already tell you that this game is a lot of fun. I am actually pretty well addicted to Infinity Wars. Um, so what I'd like to do is take some time and tell you a little bit about Infinity Wars and how the game works, as well as how it compares to other popular trading card games. So what we'll do is we will first talk about let's get into a game. Let's actually get into a sample game here against the UI and or excuse me AI. My goodness, let's get in here. We'll go with the campaign. So I'm going to pick a deck that I have made already, and I made a Grave Robber deck with the faction of the game that's called the Sleepers. Okay, so here we go. So this is the board that you are going to be playing all of your games on, and right off the bat, I know it can look a little daunting, maybe a little confusing, but after your first 2 or 3 games, it's all going to sink in, it's all going to make sense, and I'm going to help you with that. So let's get right into it. So as you can see here on the bottom of my screen, you have my 5 cards that I started with. Now, at the beginning of the game, you can certainly mulligan your first hand minus 1 card. And to do that, you're going to click on Trading Post here on the right. You see it lighting up. And there you go. Shuffle hand into deck and draw a new card minus 1. Of course, you can only do this on turn 1. Now we're going to talk about the trading post in detail here in a little bit because it really adds a really an amazing dimension to the game. But for now, let's just go ahead and get back to the basics. So, okay, so if you look at my screen here, you'll see these green globs, these green gobs over here. Now, when you go above to my opponent's area, you're going to see he's got a purple orb, and then he's got what looks to be I guess a ninja star, a shuriken, whatever you want to call it, and he's got some leaves falling from it in the upper right. What these are basically are signifiers of the faction that you are playing. So I know that he is playing a Varor deck mixed with a Warpath deck, Warpath faction. So I know he's got a dual Purity deck, and I'll get into Purity here in a second. Because you can see I have green gobs across, green goopy gobs across my board here. I'm playing a mono sleeper deck, which are the zombies, undead, basically your reanimation faction. So now let's talk about the board itself. There are there are 4 zones to each game. The first being the support zone, which you see right here in the middle. To the left of the support zone, you're going to see your command zone. Now, this is where your commanders are, and I'm going to get back to your commanders in just a little bit. Just real briefly, though, you pick 3 commanders whenever you make a deck, and this already, just right with that right there, it gives the game such a different feel to any other trading card game out there. In that, you can pretty much put your top character cards in play. So the benefit of having a player card, a character card, here in your command zone is that you can play them directly from the command zone to either the support zone here in the middle, or your defensive zone, or your assault zone to the left and right, respectively, and they will not suffer from summoning sickness or exhaustion. Just like if I play this card from my hand, this costs 1. He's an undead zombie scavenger, so you'll notice as soon as I play him, he is going to turn red, meaning I cannot place him in the assault zone this turn, nor can I place him in the defense zone. He's got to wait a turn before I can actually use him. So the key difference between a card in the command zone is that if I had the resources needed, which is 7 for my Hakim or 8 for my Patient Zero here, I would be able to play them directly to the zones. So really cool. Now, the other cool thing about having a card in the command zone is that you can also use their abilities. So for example, Patient Zero here, you can pay 8 and you can kill a character in a combat zone. Whenever he kills another character, that character comes back from the graveyard under your control and it becomes slow, which is a mechanic in the game. So right off the bat, you're going to see that unique feature of Infinity Wars compared to other games. Really, really fun trying to make a deck, and really strategically place character cards in your command zone. So let's talk about the basics of the game. Let's open up a card here. Now, this is a zombie scavenger. He costs 1 resource. Now, in this game, you do not have mana, so to speak. If you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, you do not have to worry about, do I have enough of this color and enough of that color and enough of this color. You simply have to have enough resources. Resources are gained at 1 per turn for a maximum of 10 each turn. At the 10th turn, you'll have 10 resources, and it does not go higher from 10 unless you have certain cards in play which increase your resources. So he costs, if you look at the upper right of the card, he costs 1 resource to play. On the bottom of that number 1, there is a smaller number, which is the number 3 in kind of a pink color. That is how much morale you lose when this card gets killed, and I'll explain morale in just a second. To the left of the name Zombie Scavenger, you're going to see a skull head. That is his purity cost. So in order to play Zombie Scavenger, I have to have 1 commander minimum of said purity in my command zone in order to play this card, which I do. It's a mono deck, so as you can see, I have all sleeper cards. Now Hakim, on the other hand, requires 3 purity. So it's going to take me having 3 commanders in order to be able to play Hakim, which I do. I have Patient Zero, who requires 2 purity. Okay, he's a sleeper. I have Aleda, the Immortal Sufferer. She only requires 1 purity. And then, of course, I have Hakim himself. So, as you can see, I've got 3 commanders, all of the sleeper purity in my command zone. So let's go back to Zombie Scavenger. Now, he is an undead character, and we're going to go to his ability. Whenever an undead character you control dies, Zombie Scavenger gets +2/+2. Now, if you look below that, you'll see that he is a common card, so he's not rare. You're going to see the fist over here. That is his power. That's how much damage he deals. And then you're going to see his health, okay, similar to other games. So he is a 2/2 creature. He is +2/+2. He is from the Rise expansion, which has just been released, and he's actually a platinum card, which you can see by the border. So these were, I believe, offered to pre-order beta players. So these are going to be very, very rare in the near future. Okay, so let's put Zombie Scavenger down and let's talk about the battlefield and what's on it. Now, obviously, you have him in my support zone. The defense zone is where I would go to defend. So let's go ahead and end the turn here. It's my opponent's turn. Now it's turn 2. So as you can see in the upper left here, I'm gonna move on a little bit here. You've got my name, Doc.Game in green, and you've got Captain Cool in white. Now what the green means is whoever's name is green means that they have initiative. It means that while the turns in Infinity Wars are simultaneous, which is another critical selling point to this game, my abilities will resolve before my enemies. So, as you can see, my name is in green, meaning I have initiative. I have 2 resources, just like he does. If you look at the boxes around our avatars, you're going to see his is green bordered, which means he has completed his turn. So he's waiting for me to lay my cards down and play my abilities so that we can go to the resolution stage. These numbers here to the left of my avatar and to the right of Captain Cool's are going to be how many cards we have in our respective hands. I have 5, he has 6. Now, it's the second turn after I played Zombie Scavenger, so I can go ahead and place Zombie Scavenger in either my defensive zone or my assault zone. Or I can leave him in my support zone. Now, one thing I really love about this game is that there is an inherent bluffing system in the game. What do I mean by that? Well, since the turns are simultaneous, when I lay this card down on the assault zone, my opponent does not see that. He does not see that card there until I click up here and end my turn. Now, at that point, the cards that he chose to lay on the field are then going to be placed at the same time that my cards are placed. So it really makes for some interesting strategy, and it makes for some amazing gameplay when you're calling your opponent's bluff or vice versa. Is he going to attack me this turn? Should I place something in my defense zone, or should I go all out assault? A lot of fun trying to build your strategy and your decks based upon the inherent bluff mechanic. So we talked about what's on the card. And we talked about the battle zone. Of course, you have my assault zone here. You have my defense zone here. You have my support zone here. Now, you're going to hear terms like combat zone and battlefield. Battlefield is the defense zone, assault zone, and support zone combined. Combat field is the defense zone and the assault zone only. So some creature abilities will have choose creature, choose target creature in combat zone, deal 6 damage. So that card would not work against a card in the support zone. However, if it says something along the lines of select target creature on the battlefield, in your opponent's battlefield, then that you would be able to select a card here. Your commanders are typically immune to most abilities. However, there are cards out there that target commanders or that target any creature, such as the ever so popular Assassinate card. As you can see, the ability itself is kill target character. Therefore, it can kill any character on the battlefield, including those in the command zone. Your max resources decreases by 2. So what that means is it takes away your maximum resources by 2 in order to play this card. It is a powerful card, so there has to be some inherent risk with playing the card. It costs 6 resources to play, and it is an ability card. Now, I have the ability, as you can see, the cards in my hand are right here. So I am going to, with my 2 resources, I am going to play my infectious zombie. He costs 2 resources to play, and if you look on the left, he requires 1 purity, which I have. So I'm going to play him. He's now sick, so I cannot use him right this moment, but I can use my ever faithful zombie scavenger, and I'm going to go ahead and place him into the assault zone. Now let's talk a little bit about how you lose or win the game. And yet another unique feature of Infinity Wars is not only do you have health, which you're going to see on my bottom left above my command zone, I have 100 of 100, but you're also going to see my morale, which is 100 out of 100. So, again, just another unique feature by Infinity Wars, making this game stand out amongst its peers, both old and new, and that not only do you have to worry about your health going to 0, you also have to worry about your morale going to 0. Now, there are cards in this game that do take down your opponent's morale. There are character cards with special abilities that will lower an opponent's morale. In addition to that, of course, as I stated earlier, whenever you lose a creature, you lose a certain amount of morale. And that, once again, is the peach number under the number 1, which is my resource cost, on the right side of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and place my zombie scavenger in the assault zone because I don't see anything on my opponent's field right now. And because there are 2 resources in play, he cannot play his Beast of Burden, which costs 3, and he definitely can't play his Pack Leader, which costs 5. So another cool thing about this game is you can definitely click on any card that is in play, whether it's yours or your opponent's, and you can learn about the card. So I'm going to go ahead and end my turn. So now, as you can see, I just did 2 damage to my opponent's fortress. You're going to see his health go down too, which it did. He's at 98 currently. And now we're on turn 3. I've got 3 resources. He's got 3 resources. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go all out on the assault here. Now, you want to think about where you place your cards in their respective zones. Because if he places a creature down here to block, then it is going to block the lower card first. So obviously, if he has a 2/2 creature similar to my zombie scavenger, I want him to block against my 2/2 creature and not my 4/4 creature, so that my 4/4 creature gets through and does damage. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got 3 resources, but I really don't have anything I want to play right now. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and end my turn. So as you can see, my opponent plays his Beasts of Burden, which takes 1 purity from Voror, which is the purple faction, and it costs 3 resources to play, which he does have. He will lose 0 morale if this creature dies, and it's a pretty powerful 6/8 creature. 6 on the power, 8 on the defense. So he's going to place that in its support zone. I'm not really worried about it right now because he can't do anything with it. So he's still going to get hit by me for 6 damage. Now, yet another unique feature to Infinity Wars, and probably my favorite, is the trading post. I can't tell you how many times in Magic the Gathering, I would experience, I would be mana screwed, or maybe I have mana, but I don't have any cards to play. Okay, well, in this game, you can go to your trading post, and there are a few options. I can pay 3 to shuffle a card from my hand into my deck and draw a card. Or, let's say I don't have any cards in my hand, but I know I've got 5 resources, I can simply pay 5 and draw a card. Or, I can pay 9 resources and increase my base resources by 1. Now that comes in handy late game because some creatures and some abilities cost an insane amount of resources. They cost 12, 13 resources, and of course normally your resources only go up to 10. So this is a way to increase those resources and allow yourself to use those cards. So, again, a unique feature inherent to Infinity Wars and one that I love very much. Let's just say hypothetically I've got a useless hand. I'm going to shuffle a card from my hand. So I'm going to select one of my recycles. And so my resource, the recycle goes into my deck again, and I drew a card, which I believe was my Risen of Avarak. He is a 2 purity, 6/4 card, 6 power, 4 defense. He costs 2 to play, and if he dies, I lose 2 morale. Now he's got a really cool ability. If Risen of Avarak is in the graveyard for 3 consecutive turns, it returns to play. So I'm going to go ahead and play him. Oh, I don't have the resources, excuse me. I only have 1 of 4, so he's going to have to wait. But in the meantime, I have to think about where my opponent is going to play this Beast of Burden. Is he going to put that Beast of Burden in the defense zone, or is he going to go ahead and assault me with that Beast of Burden? So I'm going to go ahead and stay with my assault, and I'm going to keep my zombie scavenger and my infectious zombie in the assault zone. Let's see if the gamble plays off. I'm ending my turn now. And no, he sure did. He went to the assault zone. So he's going to take 6 damage, but at the same time, he's going to hit me for a whopping 12. So my health is down to 88, while his is down to 86. So let's check on my commanders. Aleda the Immortal Sufferer has a really awesome ability. Number 1, if she's in the graveyard for 5 consecutive turns, she returns to play. But more importantly, I can exhaust her, which means to tap her if you're used to Magic the Gathering. I can tap her or exhaust her, basically remove her from kind of any play, and I remove a character card from my graveyard. I then create a 4/4 undead zombie creature. Now, looking at my graveyard, to the right of my card deck, I have no creature cards in my graveyard, so there's really nothing going to go on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move my characters over to the defense zone. Now, again, keep in mind, my opponent does not see this in live action. Okay, he does not know what I'm doing until my cards are placed. So again, this is a thinking man's game or woman. Okay, you have to think about what you want to do. It's a bluff. Is he going to call my bluff, or is he going to play conservatively and move 1 or 2 of those Beasts of Burdens over to the defensive zone? So while I move those guys over there, I'm going to go ahead and launch another creature. Here is my one of many Exhumed. He costs 4 to play. I lose 3 morale if he goes down, and he requires 1 purity. Now, his ability is when one of many Exhumed dies, which is when he dies, put the top card of my deck into my graveyard. So I'm going to go ahead and play him. He's not a bad card. He only costs 4 resources, and I'm getting an 8/10 out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and play that card. In the meantime, I'm also going to place my cards in defense because even though I know these guys are going to die, it will prevent me from taking damage unless he plays a special ability. So here we go. I'm ending the turn. He's playing his pack leader. Okay. And what's he going to do with those beasts? Well, he's going to keep them in the assault zone, it looks like, and he's going to take out my creatures. Now, another feature of Infinity Wars is that combat damage done to your creatures is permanent. So, as you can see, they started out as a 6/8 creature. Because my cards, although they died, they did damage to his creatures retain that damage throughout the game, unless he heals that damage through a certain ability. Now at this point, it's my turn. I've got 6 resources, so now I can play a couple of things here. I think I'm going to go ahead and assassinate one of them, although, well, it's going to decrease my resources by 2. So instead, let me go ahead and play my one of many exhumed. Since he's an 8/10, I know that he'll be able to take the damage from both of these creatures and kill them both while dying in the process, because 6 plus 6 from these two is 12, and he's only got 10 HP. So he's going to die, but he's also going to take them both down with him because his damage is 8, and they can each only take 4. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play another one of many exhumed. He's got Summoning Sickness. And I'm going to end my turn. Ooh, so now things get a little interesting here. So, instead of those two creatures dying, I'm taking a wallop of damage. Why? Because of these pack leaders. While in a combat zone, other beasts you control get +3/+3. And he's already a 13/13, so he's a mean mamma jamma. So when he came into play, he boosted these two guys +3/+3. Oh, but guess what? There's another pack leader, and the abilities do stack. So everybody just became +6/+6. So I'm in a bit of trouble. I now have 7 resources, and I have no creatures on the battlefield. So I'm in a lot of trouble. So I'm going to go ahead and play an ability and remove one of those pack leaders from the game. And then I'm going to bring my mini exhumed in there to just try to block some of the damage. So again, as you can see, my health is at 50 out of 100. He has 100% morale because he has not lost a creature. I have 92 morale because I lost, well, several creatures. I lost my infectious zombie, I lost my zombie scavenger, and I lost one of many exhumes. So again, another cool thing about Infinity Wars is you can check out your graveyard at any time if you want to see what's going on. So let's see what the turn brings. So he brings another creature out onto the combat zone, and he launches another creature into his support zone. Now I'm going to assassinate that pack leader with my assassinate card and send him to the graveyard. And I'm going to kill off, I believe, at least one of his creatures while still taking 9 damage. So I definitely slowed him down there. Now, I have initiative up here, so I know if I play this fear card, which makes all characters in a combat zone retreat back to their support zone, I know that this is going to go off before anything he plays, such as maybe turning one of those creatures invincible and thus negating my effect. So I'm going to go ahead and play Fear. Once again, it's an ability. It costs 2 to play, and it requires a purity from the Sleeper faction, which of course I know I have. So I'm going to go ahead and play this card. I think I'm also going to go ahead and play my Awaken, which costs 4 to play, 1 purity from Sleeper. It's an ability that allows me to raise a target character in my graveyard from the graveyard into play at the expense of getting -1/-1. So I'm going to play that card, and let's see who I want to dig up. You know what? Let me dig up my one of many here. And since I'm out of resources, I'm going to end my turn. He lays down another Beast of Burden. He lays down a one of many. Right, so he's putting his one of many into play, which is fine by me because I am going to fear them back into their support zone, as you can see, thereby negating any damage from him. I'm also going to raise my one of many exhumed from the graveyard and bring it into play. It's turn 9. Okay, so we went over the basic gameplay of Infinity Wars, and I really hope you enjoyed that because I know I'm loving this game. Let's go back to the main menu here and talk a little bit about, well, the main menu. So I am going to go back to the main menu and show you just a little bit here about cards. Okay, we're going to cancel this and let's go to my cards, my card collection. Now here's the really cool thing about Infinity Wars. There is full blown trading in this game. It's unlike Hearthstone, where the only thing you can do with your cards is basically disenchant them and create other cards. You can actually trade your excess cards to other players once you achieve level 5. And I can't tell you how many great cards I now have in my deck because of trades. So here we are into the deck screen, and very informative here. As you can see, you see what commanders I have. Okay, I selected my 3 commanders. All right, now this is my collection. I have 896 cards, which is not a lot by most standards. And I have, of course, multiples of cards. So I've got 12 Wealthy Nobles. Now, the most you can have in a deck, unless it's an unlimited character, is 3 of any card. So I can have 3 Tech Knights in my deck. I can have 3 Wealthy Nobles, and so forth and so on. Now there is such a thing as a unique character, which means that number one, typically it's a badass character, pretty powerful, and number two, a unique character, you can only have one of those in play at any given time. Now, if you look to the right, you're going to see how many cards are in my deck, which is 49. You're going to see the power curve of my deck, which is very helpful. It gives me a very quick bird's eye view of where my power curve is with my cards. It tells me, okay, so, do I have too many high cost cards and not enough low cost cards, which means that my first 3 or 4 turns are just going to be sitting there while I might be getting pummeled by my opponent? Or do I have a very fast moving deck and not enough high cost cards, which are typically your more powerful cards? Now, below that power curve, you're also going to have your card types: character, ability, location, and artifact. Character cards, self-explanatory, so are abilities. Now, location cards are a really cool thing here in Infinity Wars, and basically it's a location that you put down, and they usually grant a pretty cool effect, both on the battlefield in terms of visual and sound, but they also give you a benefit of some kind. So this is an Undisturbed Necropolis, which is a sleeper faction card. It costs 6 to play. It's a location that, at the end of my turn, or at the end of the turn, Undisturbed Necropolis creates a 4/4 undead zombie character for each enemy character that died the previous turn. Holy moly guacamole. Pretty powerful if used correctly. Now, in addition to locations, abilities, and characters, I also have what's called an artifact. So when you play an artifact, once again, it gives you a benefit. If your fortress would take damage and you have at least one character in your graveyard, prevent that damage and remove the top character in your graveyard from the game. Wow. So, as you can see, putting together a deck is not as simple and fast as just saying, let me throw some abilities together, let me throw some characters together. You really have to think about what you're putting here. You really have to make sure that everything synergizes well. And this is just a mono deck. Let's not talk about decks that require more than one purity type. So, for example, I call this my grave robber deck. I also have a DOD, which is I believe it's Defense of the. I'm trying to remember Descendants of. Well, I'm forgetting the name, but that's okay. And my beasts, which I know are Warpaths. So these guys require. This is a 2-faction deck. So as you can see, I've got Skrar. He requires 2 purity of Warpath, which I have because I have Skrar as a commander, and I also have Aleda the Immortal Caretaker. I have Daod, Sage of Strength, as a commander. He is from DOD. As you can see, he requires 1 purity. So as you can see in this deck, I've got characters from 2 different factions, and of course, each character and or ability, they meet the purity requirement, which means I have the appropriate amount of commanders from each purity to allow me to play the cards that I play. Now here's another location in my deck. It's called Untapped Wilderness. It costs 3 to play. It's a location, and what it does is it makes it to where cards from the Warpath Purity cost 1 less to play. Now, how do you make a deck? Real simple. You're going to go to New up here. Do I want to save this current deck? No, because it's already saved. I'm going to name this Doc's Deck. I'm going to go to Create, and here we go. So, in order to put a card as commander, I have to click on the card, and I'm going to go down here and just simply add him as a commander. And there he is. He's a commander. Now, he's what you would call a colorless, which means he does not require any purity from a specific faction. You can play him for 3 resources from any purity that you may have. So he's going to be my first commander. I'll put Jubileia, the Messenger, again, another purity-less card. I'll add her as a commander, and I'll just go ahead and add, let's see, Armored Landcrawler, which is a beast. He is from the Warpath faction. Okay, so he'll be my 3rd commander. So what this tells me is that I'm only going to be able to play cards from the Warpath faction or from a colorless faction because those are the only commanders I have. So as you can see, I can scroll down here on the menu and take a look at all of my cards. They're organized very nicely. First by color or faction. Blue I know is Genesis. Purple is Varor. Red is Flame Dawn. I keep forgetting this teal color, my goodness. Okay, and then I guess that's yellowish. Yellowish is Sleeper, aka Zombies. This brownish color are the Exiles. Sleeper and Exiles just came out with the Rise expansion. Very fun cards. So after your characters, it goes down to abilities. These are all of my abilities, starting with Colorless. And then, of course, Warpath, Genesis, Varor, Flame Dawn, DOD, Sleepers, Exiles. Then it goes down to my locations. And then my artifacts. Okay? So, like I said, you can go ahead and create your deck very simply by just double clicking a card and putting him in your deck. If you want to put more than one in there, just double click it up to 3 times. And now I know that I've got 3 of my Brings Life bypassing into the deck. Okay. Now, let's also go into the store, which is really, really cool. There are 2 ways to get cards in this game, or boosters or decks. One is through IP, and you earn that as you play. The other is through LP, which is earned, well, it's not earned, you pay for that. So the really cool thing that I do like about Infinity Wars is that it's definitely not pay to win. You can earn your way, to every card and find yourself being very successful. I've seen plenty of Pauper decks, and Pauper being obviously a poor man's deck. No rares, no legendaries, no epics, just straight commons and uncommons. I've seen plenty of those decks kicking butt. And you'll never run out of things to spend your LP or IP on. You can go ahead and get booster packs, such as the Rise Normal Booster Pack for 60 LP or only 1,050 IP. You can get pre-made decks, which will help you get on your feet with a chosen faction. You can get card backs, which are really cool. Okay, they basically make the back of your cards in the game look different. You can go ahead and purchase some really cool avatars. You can also purchase battlefields, which are really, really cool. Right now, the only one in existence is the supply depot. It basically changes the look of your entire side of your battlefield. And then, of course, if there are any pre-orders, you can go ahead and check that out there. And any rewards that you may get from the game. So let's go ahead and buy a booster pack just to show you how that works. I'm going to buy a Rise Super Booster. And I am going to get that. I'm going to buy that with my LP because I'm a little short on IP. I'm going to enter my password here. And let's unlock the LP. So it's going to purchase the product. And boom, there we go. It looks like I've got 2 rares there. You guaranteed, I believe, at least 1 rare every booster, but sometimes you can get a legendary. Sometimes you can get an epic or a legendary. The rank of cards goes from common to uncommon to rare to epic and then legendary, which are your ridiculously awesome cards. All right, so you can take a look at what I just won here. I got a Cannon Fodder, Word of Command, Tusk Behemoth. I got a Wholesale Slaughter, Feast on the Dead, Tech Knight, Vanguard Knight, Risen of Avarak, Called Shot, Demonic Corruption, Low Orbit Ion Cannon, Ruins of an Ancient Civilization, Wall of the Dead, and let's go to my first rare. Ooh, Jialan, Guardian of Life. She's a nice character. She's a unique character, so you can only have one of her in play at any given time. As long as Jialan is in your defensive zone, if your health would be reduced below 1, it becomes 1 instead. Woo, very powerful if used correctly. Second one is the Chalice of Madness, which is from the Exile faction. As you can see, it requires 2 Purity Exile, costs 6. It's a unique artifact. At the start of each turn, before drawing for the turn, each player must discard a card. Very, very fun card. So then we'll hit return, and those cards are automatically added to my library, which again is you go through it by clicking cards. Now, let's go to the play menu a little bit. They have got so much in this game for it being a closed beta, and their plans are just out of this world. They really want to get into the esport arena and really make this a serious game that you could potentially earn money from if you're that good. There are numerous ways to play this game. You can play it standard, you can play it hyper, unranked, ranked. You can play normal format, tournament format, pauper format, and singles, which I don't believe is released just yet. I could be wrong. There will eventually be, well, there's multiplayer, obviously, which is to play against another opponent. There's actually talk of 2 versus 2s, free-for-alls, which I can only imagine what that's going to bring into the game. You can play certain scenarios, single turn elimination, as well as, of course, against the AI. You go into your campaign. After you complete, I believe, the first several stages of each faction's campaigns, you'll be awarded your first starter deck. So again, just another way of them showing you that you don't need to pay to play this game and to have a good time. So those are the basics of Infinity Wars. Like I said, it's currently in closed beta. They're currently working on the invite system and bringing in more players. I really hope you enjoyed this basic gameplay tutorial / preview of what I believe is going to be a huge mega hit once it launches. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and give me a like. If you didn't like the video, let me know. I only learn from you. So thanks again. This is Doc Got Game signing off. Kick ass and take names, everybody.